Welcome to Hello You. Yes, you. The podcast that opens up the full spectrum of mental health like never before. We're not here to skim the surface. We go deep into every corner of the human experience. From international athletes to high-powered CEOs, everyday heroes to global change makers. Our guests bring raw, real, and radically different perspective on what mental health really means. This is your space, a place for truth, stories, and connection. Whether you're thriving, surviving, or somewhere in between, we're here to remind you you're not alone. So pull up a chair, take a breath, and let's talk about the stuff that matters. Welcome to the most open, honest, and inclusive mental health conversation in the world. I'm your host, Dan Darwin, and welcome to Hello You. Hello You would like to thank our title sponsors, the Loss Prevention Department at Next PLC.
And welcome to another episode of Hello You. And today my guest is Gavin Moth. Gavin, over to you, joining us remotely. So introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers.
Hi, I'm Gavin Moth, 46. I currently live in Somerset, but Portsmouth born and bred. I've just retrained, which I'm sure we'll come on to be a gardener, but there's a bit more of a story behind that. I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2012, and I'm family, got married and two little girls, and that's about me, I think.
Okay. I can say now I'm privileged to have known Gav for 20 odd years.
That's that felt weird explaining who I am to you.
Yeah. So I am privileged to have known Gav for a long period of time. And we used to play football together. So let's talk about your life. And obviously you mentioned in there your MS diagnosis in 2012. So let's talk about Gavin Moth leading up to 2012. What was Gavin Moth before?
I think just quite a regular bloke. I was we play football a few times a week, bit golf, bit of other thing, watched a lot of sport on telly, go to a lot of sport, liked a lot of music, full-time job, never really been ill before. And then in January 2012, I felt horrible and ended up in intensive care for several months, and being told while I was in intensive care that I had multiple sclerosis, which is a bit of a shock.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But I just proposed to my now wife at that point as well, about 4 or 5 weeks before. So just not knowing that there was anything there that was going to hit us that hard.
Okay, so obviously, you describe it as average, normal life. I hate the word normal, but an average normal life leading up to that. You were active, weren't you?
Active, probably not as active as I should have been, but more active than most people, I'd say. Yeah. And as I said, working full time, away from home quite a lot with work, but an average life. We had a house, we were planning to get married and have kids and all that sort of stuff. So, getting by.
Yeah. And then 2012 happens. Yeah. And tell us what happened in detail. So, what happens?
I was working for a company in Southampton, and I used to drive to work there at least once or twice a week. I covered different areas for them. I got in the car one morning and felt horrible and just thought I must have, a bit of man flu. Couldn't really see, and that never really happened. That had never happened before. So I stopped the car literally 10 yards from the front door, went back home, went back to bed, and then the doctor called. My wife had spoken to the doctor, and the doctor called, and they told me to go to A&E at QA in Portsmouth, and they kept me in. They didn't really tell me what was going on, but I felt really rough. Had a really rubbish night in a ward with lots of other blokes all making a lot of noise. And then in the morning, I felt really, really rubbish. And also, I thought I was having a heart attack. Definitely thought,
Okay.
well, this is it. You're done. And the next thing I knew, I woke up and I was with a doctor, and he said I'd had some sort of seizure or episode. And they were going to put me in intensive care, and I couldn't really see, I couldn't really hear properly. I spent the next few weeks in intensive care, really not well, and having all sorts of tests done, having infusions, and I was having blood transfers, a bit like you do if you've got diabetes. They were taking out the blood and putting new blood back in to try and cleanse the system. And then a doctor or a specialist who I'd met, because I met about a year ago because I'd had pains in my left arm, but I thought it was from playing football and I'd fallen awkwardly.
Okay.
So just about remembered him, and he came in and he told me and my wife that he pretty certain that I had multiple sclerosis. One, I hadn't really heard of it before, and just trying to get our heads around what was going on. I think the only thing I knew was that people with multiple sclerosis were in wheelchairs.
Okay.
Which was, quite a hard scene, as I play football each week and golf and walk with the kids, or not with the kids before, but walk with the family and all sorts of other stuff. It was a hard thing to take.
So what's going through your mind in that first few days, week, whatever, when you're in intensive care, in the moments where you had a bit of clarity? Because obviously you were struggling during that time.
Well,
what's going through?
There's a bit of a light height moment in intensive care.
Okay.
It was a Saturday when I sort of woke up, and I wanted to know what time it was, and they said, it's 9. And then I couldn't see a telly, but I couldn't really see. But I asked if they could get me a telly so I could watch Match of the Day. And the nurses go, "You're the first bloke in 25 years who's been in intensive care and wants to watch Match of the Day." So my brain was still ticking over, but even it just hadn't quite comprehended what was going on.
Yeah. Well, as a Man United fan, that make you worse. So, but
we were all right then.
Yeah, true. But so that time in intensive care, you know, obviously the light-hearted stuff and humour does get us through some of these moments,
Definitely.
doesn't it? When you get the diagnosis, now what's running through your mind apart from the wheelchair stuff?
All sorts of things. One is because I just proposed to my wife that we're going to be able to have the wedding as we planned in a few months in the August. Okay. So this is January, and we were planning to get married in the August. Would I be able to keep my job? Would I be able to play sport again? Would I be able to do just regular thing? Would I be able to drive? All these sort of things. Would I be able to walk was a big thing.
Yeah.
Because at that moment I couldn't walk, I couldn't stand up, couldn't really talk, couldn't hear too well. So all these things running through your head, all worst case scenarios. And also,
of course,
the little thing in the back of your mind going, none of this is real, I'll be playing football in 2 weeks.
Okay, so a bit of denial creeping in as well then.
Definitely. So denial for a long time. And also, I was absolutely, this is very morbid, absolutely clear, if I was going to be an issue for everyone, then there was no coming back from that. Signed a DNR and all that sort of stuff. Do not resuscitate, because I didn't want to be a burden on the family at all.
Yeah. So that's scary stuff to contemplate, isn't it?
I'm very matter of fact with these things. It's either that you're going to sort yourself out or you're not. And if you're not going to be a burden.
Okay. So how old were you at this point?
32.
32 is a young age to be contemplating DNRs, do not resuscitates, for those that don't know what DNR is.
I had a lot of meetings with the psychologists and stuff. They wanted to make sure, but it was just, I think in my head I'd always been like, if something bad happens, then don't be a burden.
Okay, so it's inbred into your personality.
Yeah, but I can remember my wife told me I was stupid, my fiancée she was then, and my parents.
Yeah.
You just don't see it at that point.
No, of course you don't. And, you know, people who have been in that position where they feel that they are a burden, they feel that there's sometimes only one way out.
Yeah, definitely.
And You do. You see a different perspective, don't you? And certainly you're living that right at that time. So how long were you intensive care for?
Oh, God, it's all a bit hazy, but I think 3 or 4 weeks, and then they put me on the high care ward for about the same sort of time, which was pretty horrible for the nurses as well as the patients. I think it's just not a nice experience for anyone.
No.
They are looking after you completely. I couldn't move, but again, tried a bit of humour, when they're doing things that you normally do yourself, like helping you with the bathroom and stuff. You just got, after the first couple of times, you've got to make them laugh, because otherwise it's horrible for everyone.
Yeah, I can understand that. And like we've said, humour does help us process stuff sometimes, doesn't it?
Yes.
Even when it's dark. Sometimes it is. So you're there for 3-4 weeks.
Yeah.
Are you coming to terms with the diagnosis at that and learning about it, or are you still in shock?
I was determined to, God, it sounds so silly, determined to get up. It was just, so there was a couple of things out. I was playing a lot of Football Manager on my laptop.
Okay.
Because it was quiet, I could keep myself to myself. But I was also just making sure that when the physio came, I was ready to do what I had to do. Because within 5 minutes, I was absolutely shattered. But when the physio had gone, I'd get one of the nurses to get me up in a chair and go and do the exercises again at least twice that day. And I'd get the other guys in the ward to do these exercises with me, whether they wanted to or not, because most of them couldn't speak because they'd had strokes and things.
Right.
So I'd held my own little gym session in the middle of the ward where nobody was meant to be moving.
Okay.
And just trying to getting the guys who could walk to take me down to the kitchen or communal area just to make a glass of squash or something for myself.
Yeah.
And get them to push back, and when eventually I could walk, I'd take them to do the same.
So how did you feel within yourself during this period of time?
Oh God, that's a question, Dan. I had amazing moments, and I'd say 70% of the time I felt rubbish. Just your brain's just ticking over. What is this? Am I going to be this for the rest of my life? How do we get away from this? Am I going to be able to stand up for my wedding? Are we still going to get married? All that sort of stuff.
Yeah, because I can't imagine what you must have been going through. In terms of, we were very similar in terms of we were active playing football, and I tried to put myself in your shoes in thinking, I would have been so frustrated laying there, body not doing what my brain wants it to. Yeah. But my brain's still switched on.
Yeah.
So I can understand that there must have been levels of frustration there for you.
Well, levels of frustration, the lack of privacy, which is the same for everyone, is horrible. Sometimes you just want to sit there and not think about anything or hear anyone else coughing or spluttering or chatting. You just want your time to yourself. But other times it really helped. There was a good communal feeling, which helped because it meant you felt people were looking out for you and you were looking out for them, so it gave you something else to think about. But try not to contemplate more than the next physio session was a good tactic.
Okay. Mentally. Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah. Those short-term goals.
Well, I know I've listened to all your podcasts recently. Yeah, the short-term goal, without thinking about it, definitely helped.
Yeah, I could see that. In terms of, so this period of, we're still in 2012. Yeah. We're now a couple of months in and you're still in hospital.
Yeah, I think I'd come out for a couple of days and had quite a bad episode again, or a relapse, which I found out they're called. Yeah. And that was quite scary. We had to get the Blue Lights ambulance to come pick me up from home and get me back to that hospital. I think all in all, I was in there for 3.5 months-ish. Yeah. Something like that. But being told I'd never... There was a possibility I wouldn't walk again. I remember that being really hard and refusing that one. Because I could feel my legs had power in them, but just not working the way I wanted them to work. That I probably shouldn't go back to work and that I definitely wouldn't do sport again. I can remember being That was
How did that make you feel?
horrible. That's making me feel. I was like, that was horrible. That moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I can only imagine what that must have been like to be told that. So, do you know what?
Well, I thought you were going to say you never could play sport anyways.
Well, that would be very unfair of me, but as you've said it, what I do remember of that time, I remember one of our other friends, Jamie, who was a barber. He used to come in and cut your hair, shave your beard.
I remember him coming in once and cut my hair. It was actually, I think, the day before I left. And it was so when I was in there, I didn't shave. I used to have full head of hair, and my beard was. I didn't shave at all. It was little things to keep me going.
Yeah.
Let's see how long I can get my beard. Let's see how long my hair is. Also, my eyes weren't working properly because multiple sclerosis affects your nervous system, and so certain things don't work properly. Or they don't seem to work properly. And one of the things was working properly, I'd have a lazy eye, but it could be both of them.
Okay.
The way to solve that was by putting an eye patch on.
Yeah.
I couldn't wear the hospital eye patches because they itch too much because I'm a right softie and couldn't have them on my eye. So my wife brought in, she was a primary school teacher, brought in a pirate's fancy dressed eye patch that I had on my eye. So all these horrendous things are happening, and I'm there with a kid's pirate patch on my eye to stop my eyes from crossing over into each other.
So there's these moments there that give you a bit of hope, that light-hearted stuff, but obviously a lot of adjustment and change coming.
Yes.
And like I said, you know, I remember certain bits from back in this time because we were friends then. And I remember coming to visit you when you were in hospital. And I remember that being...
I remember every person who visited.
And how did that help you? Or did it make you feel embarrassed? Or is there any other emotions that came up when people came to see you?
It was just nice to pretend that everything was normal. And just chat and tease and talk about sport and what was on telly, all that sort of thing was just it's just a relief for I know I've visited people in hospital and you're in there for an hour and it's just part of your day, but for the person you're visiting, it's the whole day.
Yeah.
I remember some of the other guys from our football team, Tom Wood, who you all know really well, he came and took me to Costa Coffee, and I can remember I had a cake for the first time in months, and it was the best thing I'd ever eaten. He said it was like you were high on coffee and walnut cake from the Costa Coffee. But it was just such an amazing feeling for that bit of freedom.
Yeah,
and bit of normality.
Yeah, and I suppose in the midst of all the change and you trying to come to terms with it, that little bit of normalcy really helps. But
it's just forgetting for a minute what situation. You know, I was in a wheelchair that he had to push. Or I'm not sure we went. I think we just stayed and chatted. So I mean, it's just having that time where you're not being told that you're ill when you need to do this exercise and this won't happen and that won't happen. You can just be yourself for those few minutes.
Yeah, and I think there's two things really, and it's one more. But I did just stay in the hospital and talk to you, and I remember coming out of there feeling very emotional because I remember the Gavin Moth that I remembered before seeing you in the hospital is this guy who, and this will paint the picture for our listeners and viewers. This guy was so full of life, gifted a gab. You know, we had some fun nights out together in our younger years, where we would go out and in terms of be wingman for each other, and you were the life and soul, and you know, you stood out in every crowd. You were very vocal and stuff, and very well spoken, very intelligent, and like I say, gifted a gab. You could sell anything to anyone.
Very intelligent. I'm recording that bit myself. I'm keeping that,
so you can keep that soundbite and play it over. But I remember coming out of the hospital that day and just thought, that's not the Gav I knew. and it, you can only, I don't know how you could have dealt with that aspect because you're having to live that.
I never, until you just said it, I never really thought about how it seemed to others. I think you're so self-centered at that point. You're just happy that you've seen people, you've seen people that aren't nurses or doctors.
And I think that's the way it should be. I think it should be because you got to focus on your own health at that point, haven't you?
That's an interesting thing. I never thought of how it affected. I did think how it affected my wife and family, but not how it affected just my mates who came in to see.
So we now come into a point where you've got a diagnosis of MS.
Yeah.
At what point do you start learning about MS and researching what it means to your life?
I pretty much started researching as soon as I could get my hands and my eyes working well enough to work the phone and the keyboard on my laptop. And even in 2012, it was the easiest thing to get online in hospital. But I think my dad, got one of those Wi-Fi sticks that probably cost him about $5,000 for the time I was in there. But and use that and just searched up things, but didn't search the all singing, all dancing pages that tell you the worst or the best. Just try to just be matter of fact and sensible about the things. And I can see multiple sclerosis is quite an unusual illness that pretty much every single person that's got it has different symptoms.
Okay.
So there's several types. There's progressive, primary progressive. I've got relapse and remitting multiple sclerosis, which means that you can have attacks or relapses quite regularly. So just once I was told that, I looked up and saw that people were doing things like running marathons, but also people that couldn't work at all, and just trying to think about how I could get into the middle of doing both and understanding my body better. So quite early on, I remember my physios saying you can see that you're adapting to your changes in your body. So I've got no feeling across my forehead. My fingers are have pins and needles constantly. And I feel in my shins and my feet. Really, I get spasms which start in the back and go all the way up, but I've now worked on those with breathing techniques that I learned online, and they were debilitating. Those things they stop you from going to sleep, stop you from being able to do simple things just like watching telly or eating. But now I can control my breathing and almost stop them. There's never a complete answer to that. If they want to, they'll just come and ruin my day. But you just got to learn how your body works and try and adapt to these things.
So
sorry, I'm not sure that made complete sense, but
no, I've got a picture of how your symptoms are and how they must affect daily life and everything.
Daily life, yeah.
So for people who don't know, what causes MS? Why do people suffer with it?
There is no cause that they've been medically able to find that I know of. There might have been something more recently, but as far as I'm aware, it's not 100% known what causes it. But it's basically your nervous system attacking your body. So the white blood cells attack this little thing in the back of your brain called the myelin sheath, back of your spine, top of your spine, back of your brain, and the white blood cells, they pretty much get into everybody's myelin sheath. From what I know, I'm no medical expert. This is just from things I've read and historically what I've learned. But everyone has these happen. When you have multiple sclerosis, lots and lots and lots of the white blood cells attack these things and cause this damage. So they attack lymph nodes and brainstem. The signals going from your nervous system to your brain don't work properly. So some people, it'll be that their legs don't work, and so other people could be that they can't see or they can't speak properly, which is another thing I have issues with. I can't say all the words that I used to be able to say. I'm not as clear in my words in my brain as I used to be.
Okay, and that makes more sense to me now, that why people have different symptoms with this. So let's just carry on the timeline. So you've come out of hospital now.
And they told me I shouldn't go back to work, and I did the silly thing of going, I can go back to work. So I had a few months at home and thought, right, I can do this. So I went back to my job, driving to Southampton, and didn't last very long before I realised that it probably wasn't working, and it was making me more. I was just ill all the time, physically ill, because it makes you like that as well. And fatigue is a big thing for pretty much everyone with MS. And I used to think I got tired, but it just doesn't compare. I can sleep for 12 hours, wake up and feel like I've not been asleep at all.
Yeah.
So trying to work and travel and commute and come home was just ridiculous. A very good friend of mine offered me a job with him, which was round the corner, and I could do what I wanted, when I wanted, for as long as I wanted. I could work from home. So it was perfect. So I went to work for him. In that time, got married in August, and managed to walk down the aisle, managed to have quite a good evening. Did the first dance. Well, I didn't really dance, just moved around. And then about a year after going to work for my friend, we both came to the conclusion that I wasn't really working out financially for them or for me, and I went self-employed, and that was the best thing I could have done at that moment.
So you really battled the MS and not giving in for a long period of time.
Yeah. I just didn't understand my body. I didn't listen to my body well enough, so I was constantly sick, constantly feeling rubbish, feeling sad, and then the extremes of feeling happy, very very angry all the time. But there was a big change. I used to have quite a harsh drug, which was put in by I think it was a bit like it was an old cancer treatment drug, and they put it in your arm, and you sit there all for hours and hours while this infusion, that's the word I'm looking for, went through your body, and I'd feel amazingly better for a few hours, and then just feel angry again. It very much didn't work with quite a moody person, which I was before, was making me extremely moody all the time.
Right. Okay. What was the anger centered round, Gav? What was that?
I just think that I just couldn't do anything I wanted to do, Dan. It was horrible. Just, I couldn't sit in front of the computer without my body shaking. I couldn't work as hard or as sensibly as I wanted. I couldn't concentrate on things like football on telly properly, because I'd always want to fall asleep. Just all sorts of things. It was just nothing was working. I couldn't get out in the garden properly. I couldn't play football, which was I dreamt about it almost every night. Getting out to play football, and just couldn't. I knew that was done. I was never going to be able to go and do that again.
And that's hard to accept at 32, 33 years old, isn't it? Your body's not allowing you to do stuff. Was to
go and goal and play till I was in my mid-40s, and it was more the social side of things as well. You realise that I couldn't really go out and drink. I couldn't really go out and not drink and just hang around because I'd get so tired that.
Yeah.
And I remember I went out with a group of lads from a football team one night and felt so I couldn't get down some stairs because the lights weren't on properly. I couldn't make the stairwell out to the floor, and I just thought, I can't do this. So that was pretty much the end of going out.
And how did that make you feel? Yeah,
horrible. I'll tell you what it made me feel. It made me feel silly. I remember being in the pub, and it was two lads I used to coach for when they were 7 to 50, and they'd help me down 3. It was only 3 stairs. I felt Just felt so stupid. And they took the piss, rightly so, and it was fine. I laughed. But I just felt so silly. And yeah, not nice. And just that and that sort of thing. And when I was angry, I couldn't express why I was angry. Because it just didn't make sense. Or I didn't want to. It didn't make sense to everyone.
Yeah.
What was going on.
And you spent a long time. From that diagnosis in 2012, and we've gone through to late, probably 2013, because you've gone home, you're working for someone. You've realised that,
and had a child within a year.
During that time, your resilience has been very strong. Maybe a bit of denial in there, and your main strength there is I'm not giving in to this.
Yeah.
At what point did you have to say, okay, I've got MS, I'm not going to let it impact my whole life, but I've got to do this, this and this to be where I want?
I think having a child and then wife getting pregnant again a couple of years later, I think all that helped. And being self-employed, I think I just realised then that I could do what I wanted when I wanted. I was never going to make as much money, but my wife progressed quite quickly in the education department, and I thought, well, I could actually do the stuff at home that I never thought about. I'll be able to take the kids to school. I can do. I was always quite good at cooking and stuff, so I don't mind doing that. Not so great at the housework, but I do my bit when I can. But I just realised I could help my family by being at home and doing, and the anger also changed because they changed my medication. Mm-hmm. So the medication could have caused a brain virus, which could be lethal. And the option was to carry that on, surprisingly, because there was not much else out there.
Right,
or
okay.
Take another type of drug, which was one tablet once a day, rather than going in for this infusion, which knocked you out for a week or two after having it. So I changed to this medication, and I'm still on the same one 10 years later.
Okay.
The mood changed. I think when I found my place in life, as in I could support my wife, I could work myself, support myself enough, I could drive, I could play golf, and discovered I was quite good at gardening, which I always had an interest in.
Yeah.
Never been a top interest, but I actually found that I was pretty decent at it, and it took everything just disappeared when I was doing it.
Is it a good distraction?
Yeah, massive distraction, and it's nice being outside. I ended up helping with a community garden in Cosham. At the back of the community centre there was just a bit of waste ground, and they asked for some help. I was the only one who turned up, and basically created a garden there myself.
Did that give you... I don't know how to put it, but did it give you some real pride that actually MS isn't going to stop me?
Yeah, definitely, Dan. Definitely. So, also for those hours I was gardening, I wasn't feeling crap. I wasn't feeling like I had to change the way I was doing things for the MS. The MS had to deal with what I was doing.
Is it hard to not let MS become your identity?
I think it is. I'm very open about it. I tell people straight away, because there'll be things that they'll see that I can't do, and rather than hiding the fact that you've got a disability, you might as well let people know. Then they can act accordingly.
So, which I seem it's always very strange, because to me you're still Gav, and the MS diagnosis has, from what I can see, hasn't stopped you. You've been resilient and found a way to overcome, which is a testament to you as a human that you are still there. And you said something earlier about living the life that you want to live, and you've got your family. Yes. You've obviously made a decision at some point to leave Portsmouth. And when did you leave Portsmouth, and why?
Portsmouth. Well, I can tell you, in lockdown. So before lockdown, I went into self-isolation early, because the company I had was an e-commerce business selling eco-friendly products to businesses. And I found that China and then Italy were going mad for some of the eco-friendly cleaning products to fight off this random illness that was going on over there. So I looked into it more and spoke to a few customers from abroad. And I think I went out one day and there was a guy coughing and sneezing all in front of me. And I came home to my wife and said, I think I'm going to stay at home for a bit and not go out. Because this could be... Cause also, I was following a lot of MS website, Facebook pages and things. And people were getting extremely ill, especially abroad from this. Not so much in the UK at that time. So I went into lockdown early in 2020, but found gardening was just the soul-saving thing for me. And I didn't miss going out at all. I gardened at home and I gardened at the community centre because nobody was there. And
so...
Yeah, sorry.
Just touching on that, COVID was a strange time anyway for a lot of people.
I hated the pre-bit. I loved lockdown. I won't deny it. I loved it.
Okay.
Because my business was working from home. My wife was still teaching, so she had to go in every day. She didn't stop once. She was in all the time.
But COVID was a very strange time, and it was a scary time. Was there more fear for you because of the MS?
Yeah, I remember phoning a couple of our good friends, and saying to them, "If this gets me, you need to sort my business out." So I thought, I was certain I was going to get it, and I was done. The minute I got it, I knew that was the end of it.
Yeah.
I know it seems silly to other people don't think it's true and all, but as someone who was immunosuppressed, I was compromised. There was nothing. If I got that, I was done. It was a horrible feeling.
Yeah, so I'm guessing that lockdown gave you that security and allowed you to do some gardening.
I loved it. I loved the Zoom calls. I loved being able to chat to my mates every week and being at home. And if I wanted to go to bed at 9, I'd go to bed at 9. If I wanted to start till 2, I could start till 2. All these things. I loved being able to... And if I felt rubbish, it was because I'd done something and it wasn't someone else's fault, which was something I think helped me recognise what was going on in my body. But these sort of things led us to think we didn't want to be in the city anymore.
Okay.
My wife's parents moved to Somerset quite a while before we even thought about it, but we loved it when we came here and we saw what we could get if we sold our house, what sort of house we could get here. And we bit the bullet. What the big key was, we got married in Somerset, and the village we got married in had a small school. They were looking for a head teacher. My wife applied and got the job, and she left in 2 weeks to go and start the job.
Okay.
I was home with the kids by myself. This is in 2023. It's 23. 6-7 months by myself. 6-7 months by myself. Trying to sell the house, work, sort the kids out for school every day. But it was the best decision we've ever made. We absolutely love it here. Love being in the countryside.
Yeah.
Love our community, which is a big thing. I felt Portsmouth, there was no community. I was working at that community centre garden and nobody came to help me other than the people that worked there. And
it's very sad.
That was in Cosham. I lived on a street of an estate of thousands.
Yeah.
And I think I had 2 people come and help for a couple of hours once.
Yeah.
Whereas I moved here and the community is amazing.
It is very sad because we're both from Portsmouth. I'm very proud of the city.
I never thought I'd move out of Portsmouth down ever in my whole life.
Yeah.
Didn't ever think it was going to be on my radar to move. But since I moved, the health has improved.
Okay, so I wanted to touch on that a bit then. So you've learned since 2012, we've gone through this pattern where you've learned about MS.
Yes.
The the worst case scenarios, because of course they're going to cross your mind. We've gone through this
every day, Dan.
Still.
Yeah.
So you're still having those thoughts a lot?
Yeah, there's things that trigger when I've been really ill. I've been in bed for weeks, and it could just be something innocuous that's caused this amount I've eaten, something I've done too much, all sorts of things, and then you could be in bed and just go, "Well, is this the last time I'm gonna been outside? Is this now the place? But your legs don't work, your arms don't work. Is this going to be this forever?"
Okay. And so I was about to say, you've sort of learned how to live alongside the MS diagnosis over that period of 10 years to 2022, 2023.
Yeah.
But you haven't really, because you've always got to keep on your toes with it.
Absolutely. You got anything can trigger something as simple as the first ever attack I had was triggered by me going for a wee twice in an hour. That's what they think that's what the first. Well, that's what I think the first trigger was, because I went for a wee in the morning, and about 20 minutes later I needed to go again, but I hadn't drunk anything, and I thought that was weird. Went again, and within 2 minutes I thought I was going to die and have a heart. So I was having a heart attack, which I didn't have. It was the relapse. So since that point, I've not been for a wee twice in an hour in 13 years, 14 years.
Right, so
I'm not having that. I don't want that as a trigger to do it again.
No, it's affected you. Yeah.
If you've had a couple of pints in the pub, it's a hard thing not to want to do.
Yeah, I can imagine. So you've moved down to Somerset.
Yeah.
And tell me about how your day differs now and how your health has improved compared to what it was in Portsmouth, and why you think so.
Right. Well, I think pollution is one thing. The air was... It was not noticeably polluted, but it probably was. And I've definitely got fresh air here. Excuse me. Everything's quite local, so it's all walking distance or a quick drive in the car. Everything is within our town that we live in, so we don't really have to go out of town too much to do things. The kids are in smaller schools right at the bottom of the road, so they can make their own way there if they need to. The neighbourhood's brilliant, the town's brilliant, and the fresh air is just a massive benefit. And being able to walk to the end of the road and there's fields and just look and contemplate stuff. Where I used to live in Portsmouth, you walked to the end of the road and there was just mess and rubbish everywhere. Yeah. And I loved it, but I just at that that's all I knew.
Yeah, of course.
And coming here and I think the way of life's a bit quieter down. I've been on a motorway for months.
Yeah,
just haven't been. I've not needed to, and so, just that sort of stress is not there.
In terms of your symptoms and the ongoing stuff that you have,
yeah.
How do you live? How do you cope with that on a day-to-day now?
Well, I don't sleep very long. If I get 6 hours sleep, I'm laughing. So if I go to bed at 9, I'll wake up 6 hours later. If I go to bed at 1, I'll wake up 6 hours later. There's no rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah.
But that's because I try and fit in naps in the day, and they're definitely recovery naps.
Yeah.
So it can be, but I don't go, right, I'm going to have 50 minutes, so I just go to sleep. And if I wake up in an hour, then fine. If I wake up in 10 minutes, I feel, but I might have 2 of those in a day, might have 1, but a nap a day is a must, otherwise I won't get through the day. I'll be in bed by 6 or 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock.
For those listening and watching this, this was scheduled for us. About 3, 4, 5 weeks ago? Yeah, and unfortunately, you had a relapse, didn't you? And said,
that was horrible. Yeah, so it's not. So this is the terminology differently. So relapse is when you have a proper attack and your body shuts down and different things happen. This was a flare up. So
Right.
flare-ups where the symptoms are ridiculous. So everything that you have every day are 100 times worse. So I think when we went to speak, I had a flare up, and I've been in bed for 6 days, I think, before I text you to say I'm not going to make this weekend.
Yeah.
And that was, and then I probably still haven't fully recovered, and that's, like you say, 3, 4, 5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I still feel my brain's not completely back to where it should be.
Okay. So, Gav, right, I know I follow you on Instagram.
Yeah.
And you can tell everyone your handle in a minute.
Yeah.
You're doing gardening.
Yeah.
And you've mentioned that a few times along this path, this timeline, and how it's helped you.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit more about the gardening and how that came about and what you're doing with it.
So, going back to community, there's a community garden in the town I live in, and I went to help initially build the garden there, and a good friend of mine now, Emily, had designed the garden, and
Okay.
her and I spent quite a bit of time working on putting the garden together for other people to come plant and do whatever they wanted to in the community garden. And she said, I'm doing a course at college with the RHS, and I think you should do it. And I said, no, I'm too old, and I've got MS, and I can't do it. And she really encouraged me. And I came home and said to my wife, I'm thinking about going to college to do a RHS course.
And what's RHS?
So RHS is the Royal Horticultural Society.
Okay.
So they are the standard bearer of gardening. So if you think of something like the Chelsea Flower Show,
Yes.
that's them.
Okay.
If you go to some of the big gardens, most of them are RHS affiliated. So if you're an RHS member, you can go and see these places, get discounts and things. But they're huge. They've got science labs to do with keeping endangered plants going, right through to the bog standard grass seeds and that sort of thing. They are the leaders in it. Not everyone agrees with what they do, but I think it's a very good standard to adhere to and follow their guides as best you think you should. So before I even finished my sentence, my wife had said, you go and do it now because that's what you should do. And the business, the e-commerce business that I've been running at that point for over 10 years, I had an offer on the business, so a customer wanted to buy it. So it sort of all fell into place.
Yeah.
So I went back to college one day a week for a year, and I passed in the summer just gone. I got a merit which is better than I did at college when I was a teenager. I actually paid attention and didn't skive anything. I went to every lesson and absolutely loved it. And sort of in the transition between the course finishing and selling the business, people wanted me to work in their gardens. So I sort of call it posh gardening. I don't tend to do too much lawn mowing and that sort of stuff, but try and make people's gardens nice and do the stuff that either they can't do or they don't know how to do. Or some of it is they don't want to do.
Okay.
And yeah, I've now been working as a professional horticulturalist since, April last year, properly.
Okay, and what's your Insta tag?
Sorry, Dale, I absolutely love it.
I've seen some of the photos of your befores and afters. Tell everyone what your Insta tag is so people can follow you.
Insta tag is the MS Gardener, so THEMS Gardener, GARDNER.
Okay.
And I just I pretty much do photos every day just for my own benefit more than anyone else, of just what I do and how happy it makes me feel.
It's amazing.
And how I don't have to think about MS when I'm doing it.
But you also use it.
I have to put safety measures in place because I can't feel certain parts of my body. But I'm stronger than I've been in probably 15 years. I feel fitter than I've definitely been in since I was playing football. I'm eating better. I'm drinking a lot more water and just mentally feel better. Still have my moments of anger, but normally that's because I'm tired and I've worked too hard.
Okay.
Which is the only thing that is an issue now, is that I push myself a bit too hard because I'm enjoying it so much.
Of course, and you use it as a distraction, and like you said, it makes you takes you away from that world where you've got MS. But you also, I'm going to flip that on the other side. You're promoting this achievement of being able to get out there, be active with MS, and showing people that there is life after the diagnosis.
Well, I've had a few people contact me on Instagram who've got MS. Some are not interested in gardening, but they are interested in what I'm doing. And then others who are in a similar situation, they're doing a job their body probably can't let them do. And they have seen how happy it makes me and realise that it's probably something they want to do for themselves. So it's quite a nice, when you get a message like that from someone you've never met saying, can I have your advice on this?
Yeah.
So to increase the awareness, I was approached by a garden designer in another village near me, and he's done some RHS shows. So they have it's a bit like the majors in golf. They have certain shows all over the country once a year that all the top gardeners go to and produce things. And then you have amateur gardeners do smaller gardens. And you get people like Monty Don doing a massive garden. I think he did one last year about how dogs living and helping gardens.
Yeah.
So this guy, Mike, approached me. He's the Somerset Gardener on Instagram. We sent in a design to a quite new prominent RHS show, and we're in discussions with them now about the next steps, but they're quite keen on our idea of promoting MS and gardening and how MS can make people feel better while gardening.
Mate, that's amazing. It's amazing.
It's a bit surreal, mate. This time last year, I was shouting at Every for not delivering packages of mindful work. And now I could be doing a golf major equivalent in gardening later on this year if all goes to plan.
And that just sums up you as a person and that journey you've been on. I think the fact that the humour's still there, the banter's still there, the drive and ambition to carry on and not let this take over is there. The resilience is strong. But my question to you is, what would Gav now say to Gav in 2012 when you first got diagnosed?
Wow, that's a good question, mate. Well, what would you... I'm going to throw that one back to you. What would you say to yourself before the stuff that happened to you happened? What would you say now to make a difference to you?
Do you know what? I think I always say to people now that there's always another way. There's always someone out there that will help you. There's always hope. There is always that. And humans, sometimes we shut off the fact that there's hope and we've got resilience. We're a lot stronger than we think we are. Our brains will tell us we can't do stuff, but we can. And you are an example of that. So I can see that on your journey because, I've seen you before the MS and now how you have risen above that and found something that makes you so happy, but also gives back to the world. And I love that. I think it's amazing. I think it's an amazing story, which is why I wanted you on here, because I think that's one thing. And the other question then, what do you say to people who are just being diagnosed with MS now?
Yeah, I've thought about that one quite a lot. Because I remember how alienated you feel, how alone you feel, even if you got a good support network. It's a hard one because I don't think I would have listened to anyone else with MS. I don't think it was... One, because I wanted to hide from the fact that they were ill.
Yeah.
So I think trying to give someone advice who's just been diagnosed is very difficult. I would probably just say, wait, try and bide your time. Don't rush into decisions. Don't go back to things because you think you should. But I would just tell them to speak to me in 6 months rather than straight away. It's not the nicest of answers. It's not the best of answers. But I wouldn't have listened to anyone for 6 months.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
You have to come to terms with it yourself, don't you?
Yeah.
And
yeah, I think there's all these things you can say, oh, it'll be fine, but you don't know what any of that. You just giving people platitudes or mishopes is not a nice thing.
No, you're right.
I think them telling me that I wouldn't walk and wouldn't go back to work and wouldn't play sport again was, everything I was told over those months and weeks, that sticks in my head. I never thought I'd be the sort of bloke who would get on and do fight stuff. But I think when you get told something like that, you think, well, I want to be able to do. You spoke to a good friend of ours, his almost brother-in-law recently on his podcast.
Yeah, previous episode, Dave. Yeah,
about he's had his story is incredible. If anyone wants to go back and listen, so as a double amputee, is that right? Is that
yeah. And one arm, one leg.
And I'll bet you he can beat me and you at FIFA without even thinking about it.
Oh, I wouldn't go up against him. I've seen what he's like on his gamer channel, and
that made me really think that was another thing. I couldn't play PlayStation or anything at one point, and I was pretty decent at FIFA at then, and I wanted to get. I thought I can't lose how good I was at these things I was good at.
Yeah.
I think that's the big thing. You got to do what you're good at and don't let it go. If you can do it, do it. If you can't, find something else you're good at.
That's good advice, because for you've channeled this all into the gardening, and I think you've just summed up
would
really.
You have thought I was going to be a gardener when we were going to the pub and playing football?
Probably not, but I do remember at some point you were trying to transition into that as a business idea. So it makes sense that you found it, and it's been sort of your saviour in terms of this. But you summed up something that this is why I do this show, is the hope that it gives people. You listening to a previous episode has been an inspiration for you, when you are going to be an inspiration to many other people when they listen to this. So that's why we do it. And I think telling these stories, every human is so unique, and we're all on this journey, and we can find hope and inspiration in people. And I think my thing to somebody who's struggling with MS right now, I'd be saying your life's not over just because you got the diagnosis. MS isn't you.
M&S,
so it isn't.
Everyone says, "What's MS?" Marks and Spencer's. No.
And to be honest, I didn't really know what it was until you were diagnosed with it.
No,
and I'm sure a lot of people out there would be the same. And I would be saying to people, it's not who you are. Take a look at this man, and this will show you that you are still Gav Moth. You are still Joe Bloggs. You're still whoever you are. MS is just something that you've been diagnosed with. It doesn't make you who you are, but you learn how to adapt as a human, and you have done that incredibly.
Well, I've got lucky as well, Dan. There's people with MS that have got it. There's no coming back from the things they've got. I was lucky that my body decided just to have a bit of pain in my forehead and my shins and fingers every day. I think that you got to look. Even if you're in the most dire situation, I think I now look for a positive first before the negative. If you can find something good, no matter how crap it is, then and you can latch onto that good thing, like playing FIFA or being able to watch the telly or be able to sit in your garden or sit on your porch, whatever. Anything that you can find that's good that you can look forward to doing stops the other stuff from being so dominant in your brain.
I agree. I'm a firm believer in no matter how bad life gets for me sometimes, there's a million people out there that would still trade places. And that's Absolutely. The positive I see. You have to find these positives. And if you don't live a life of positivity, you just drown in negativity. So I think that honestly, you coming on has been great. I've learned a lot more than I knew back then, even though I've seen this journey.
Any of what I've said make any sense?
Always. So, and I think it will. People who are listening to this will listen and think, actually, do you know what? That story is incredible. To go from where you've been through some dark days and some denial and some real anger, to come back out the other side where you are, you know, doing something you love, giving back to your community, and also raising awareness for what is a horrible, horrible disease.
But can I just say, if there is, this sounds really silly, but if there is anyone who wants to message who's listened to this, even if it's not MS related, just message me on Instagram, and if I can help, I will. If I can't, I'll tell you. But I think,
and if anyone's looking for a gardener, the MS gardener's out there.
I've got no space. That's
what incredible!
I've not advertised once, and I'm full up to the
That
brim.
is great. That is absolutely amazing. Gav, it has been amazing speaking to you today. Thank you for being a guest. And yeah, your story is so inspirational. Thank you.
Thank you, mate. Nice to speak to you.
And that is the end of another episode of Hello You. Thank you for listening. And if you found this inspirational, you can also check out Gav at the MS Gardener, or give us a follow on Instagram, the Hello You community. Thank you for listening.
Thanks for being here, and thanks for being you. This was Hello You, where real conversations create real change. If today's episode moved you, challenged you, or simply made you feel seen, then share it, talk about it, and be part of the ripple. And remember, no matter where you are or what you're facing, you're never alone in this. We're building something together, and there's always room for you. I'm Dan Darwin, and until next time, be kind to your mind, be kind to yourself, and hello, you.